All right, I want to welcome everybody. It must be Wednesday night because it's a time for another Conversations with Cougars. And as I've been doing for a little over a year now, having conversations with Cougars, regardless of when they graduated and when they played, we've all got some commonalities. And I love talking to people I played with, people ahead of me, people behind me. And my guest today, I'm so pleased to have Tyler Brown out of Huntsville as my guest. How are you doing today, TB?
I'm good. Blessed to be here. Can't complain. Having a good day.
Well, good. I'm so glad that you're here with us. And for those of you who are older than Tyler, Tyler played for Coach Stewart in do you call it the teens? Not the aughts, but I guess in the 2000 and teens time period. And Coach Stewart had such an athletic group of guys come through. We're going to get to all of that in just a minute. But Tyler, you may have one of the coolest jobs that I've heard in a long time. So share with us what you do in Huntsville.
Right now, I am an IT logistics analyst for the Space and Missile Defense Command. It's a branch of the Army. If you heard the news in the past months about when President Trump made the Space Force, it's similar to that. See, each branch of the military has its own space division, and I work for the Army branch of that.
Now, are you considered are you a civilian or are you still in the military?
Right now, I am a contractor working for a contracting firm, and in the next couple of weeks, I'm supposed to be getting a civilian transition over to a civilian position.
Well, very good. How do you like Huntsville?
I love it. It's a growing city. Since I've been here about 5 years, a lot of development has come, especially houses. They're building houses, neighborhoods, probably every day up here.
Well, very
Big
good.
real estate market.
Yeah, Huntsville is certainly one of the growing cities in our state, that's for sure. And we're just so glad you've got some time for us this evening. And let's kick it back to when you were a kid. What part of Dothan? Where did you grow up?
I grew up on the north side of Dothan near the mall. I grew up in that area. Always been close to Northview. Probably about 5 miles away from the school my whole life.
Now here's something you may or may not know just because you're of your age. Now, when you say the mall, is that the new mall or the old mall? Now, the new mall was built in 1986.
Wiregrass Commons Mall.
Yeah, that's the new mall. We don't count that one. That's not the old mall. So Tyler, where did you play city league ball? Did you grow up playing other sports, or was football always your main sport?
I grew up playing football and baseball. Played city league with the city of Dothan. I can't remember what age I started, but I played on the Dothan Rams, and then I moved on, and then I played middle school ball over at Carver Magnet, then on to Northview, and I played baseball for several years with the Dothan City.
Well, Coach Danansky Fleming said you were an excellent student athlete at the View and represented Northview very well at the Hill. So he sent some props your way.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying I didn't have a chance. I didn't ever play basketball though, but I know he was a great basketball coach for the View.
You should have seen him back in the day in high school. He's one of the finest athletes to ever come out of Dothan, and we were glad to have him as a coach all these years. Yeah, he was a fantastic athlete back in the day. But that's enough about him. Let's talk about you. Now, growing up in Dothan and playing city league ball with friends, I assume either from your neighborhood or your part of the city. Did some of those guys also go to Carver at the same time? Were they also your schoolmates and play on the same teams for city as well as at Carver?
Correct. We had, I think on my team, when I was in City League, the Carver, I've had probably more than half my team played with me on City League. I know a few of them, Andrew Bannock, Tevin White, uh, just to name a few. It was a pretty good team. But we all went on the Carver and played together. Some with Gerard, because at the time, I think they're still, I'm not sure they still do it, but they were
Sure.
different teams.
I know you played in the defensive field, but growing up, what positions, where did you play in middle school ball, football wise? I bet you were all over the field.
In middle school, I played running back, receiver, and then on the defense, I played both sides. On the defensive side, I played linebacker and a little bit of safety.
And which did you prefer? Was it like to be the hitter or the hittee? Deliver the blow or
back then I like playing running back. Running back was my go-to. That was my favorite position back then, until I got in high school, and then I started loving to hit people.
Now, when you were in middle school and you knew you'd end up coming over to Northview, were you familiar with the Northview program? Did you know anything about the history of the program? How much of that was on your radar when you were at Carver?
It was on my radar a lot, especially growing up. My first cousin was the starting quarterback for Northview, Joe Coachman. So I grew up following Northview football pretty much my whole life.
And did you know, I guess, the older that some of us get, we just kind of fade from the memories of lots of the younger guys. They don't want to hear about the old days and way back when. And the coaching staff had changed over several times since the 90s. So there wasn't a lot of continuity anymore from when the school started in the late 70s through the 80s and 90s. But there was still second generation, like Coach Josh Parrish coached after Coach Stewart. But I didn't know if you knew Coach Harry Wayne Parrish or his boys or any of the family or any of the coaching staff from the early days. Did they make appearances, or were you guys familiar with any of them?
Matter of fact, yes. Tyler Parrish, I played with him at Carver. Coach Parrish, he came over and he kind of helped us out, because when I was at Carver, it was the first year of them having a football program. So we were the beginner. So I was part of that first ever Carver Magnet football team. And Coach Parrish, he came over and helped us out. So.
All right, so you got a taste of my head coach. You got a version of him a little bit later than me. Now, Tyler, who were some of your sports heroes, if you had any? Did you try to pattern your game, your football game, after any particular players, or were you just being you?
I'm growing up playing middle school and playing running back. My favorite person to watch, and I looked up to was Ed Smith, one of my favorite running backs. And then as I got older and started playing on the defensive side of the ball, I became a huge fan of, since I played safety, of the Earl Thomases and Cam Chancellors and, of course, Sean Taylor, great safeties like that. And, Carl Joseph, which is in the league now, was one of my favorite DBs at the time.
Well, those were some athletic players. They could really hit too. When they lowered the boom, you knew you had been hit. And those are some real ones to follow. Now, when you got over to Northview, I know ultimately you played for Coach Stewart, and Coach Dawkins was your DB's coach. Coach Stewart had many guys to sign scholarships during his tenure that was over there. Was that one of your goals? Or, it's easy to say in middle school, I want to play football in college, or I want to play basketball in college. But as you get older, you either keep that dream and you develop your skills and coaches find you, and that becomes a reality. But for a lot of other players, it doesn't. It just, their last game is when the last game in high school ends. I know you went on to play at Alabama A&M, but how much of that was a drive for you to make it to the next level? Or was that just something you just kind of kept in the back of your mind that you knew you wanted? Because some guys, it's not as important. Other guys, it's everything to them.
It was very important to me, especially once I got to Northview as a freshman. It kind of all started once I started seeing the older guys in front of me. When I came in, I believe Marquez White was a junior or senior when I first came in as a freshman. So seeing his progression and his started to get offers and stuff, it kind of made me see that there was an opportunity to get make it to the next level. So I started focusing more on trying to get a full ride scholarship during my 4 years there. And then once I got that offer, it was a relief because I worked 4 years to try to get that opportunity.
I'm sure that it was. I fondly for myself that it really was a relief. It was somebody recognized your accomplishments, your athletic skills, and it showed that you're going to have your education taken care of going forward. Now, let's talk about Marquez for just a minute. He was one of Northview's greats, of course. He played at FSU, two-way player, a two-sport player at FSU, and then went on to the pros for a little while. And I want to say he's back in Dothan and has a business. But was he any bit of a mentor to the younger players in your position, playing defensive back? Did he show you guys some things, or was he really more focused on his game? And this is not a criticism of him. It's just I know that historically the DBs at Northview have been so great about sharing their skills and it being such a tight-knit group of trying to get everybody to improve their game. So how was Marquez toward the younger guys?
He was great. He was a great teammate and a great example. Carried himself well, showed us the ropes, showed us, that school was most important. That they don't look at your grades, they don't look at what you do on social media. And he carried himself well, which was a great example for me personally to follow his footsteps. And actually, I guess a little fun fact is kind of crazy is that me and him have the same exact birthday. so I've always kind of looked up to him. So yeah, he was a great teammate. Even to this day, when I'm down in Dothan, I might see him every now and then. We still talk about things. He's a great guy.
Well, you guys always have that bond with all of the Cougars, but you guys got to be there at the same time. That's very cool. Let's talk about the DB's mentality. Let's talk about the DB's brotherhood. There's been so many fantastic athletes to play defensive back at Northview over the 4 decades. What was it like during your time? I know with Marquez being maybe one of the leaders at that time with Coach Dawkins as the coach, but talk about that a little bit. Share some insider stuff we don't know about that. What made it fun?
It was very competitive at our position. I played my junior year. Well, I swapped over to the defensive side of the ball at the end of my sophomore year. And my junior year, I actually started. But our whole secondary that year, we had Michael Reynolds at corner that ended up going to Army and playing. And then at the other corner, we had Maurice Fluellen that ended up going to South Alabama. And then we had A.J. Williams at safety that went on and played at Tuskegee. And then we had Josh Biggums that went on and played Division I. So our whole secondary, I guess ironically, we all kind of went Division I at the time. And then our middle linebacker, we had Harrison Jordan that went and played at North Alabama. So our defense was pretty stout. And Caleb Tillman that went on to Louisville. So I would say we probably had one of the best defenses in the area at the time. But it was a great close-knit guys. I'm still close with pretty much all of them to this day.
Well, I had Caleb on the show. He was a lot of fun to talk about back in y'all's time period. Said that it really was a lot of fun, just letting loose and just being athletes and just having fun with each other, just knowing that everybody knew what they were doing. Everybody could rely on the other. And if you needed help, that help would be there. If you missed missed an assignment, or you got caught up in some of the lineman trash trying to get at your feet, someone would be there to pick you up. Did you feel that way at times during the games?
Of course, yeah. It was always, Coach Dawkins especially made sure that we stayed together and make sure that if somebody messed up, they always call it 11 to the ball. They'll make sure that somebody missed a tackle, we're always there, and that's very important. Especially like at the next level, that's a big key.
Well, let's talk about beating Dothan High. Speaking of good memories, let's talk about your senior year beating Dothan High. Set the stage for us. Tell us a little bit about that night.
That night was crazy because I remember it vividly. Because our junior year, we had got beat pretty bad by them. I can't remember the score exactly, but I just know that senior year was a lot on that game because of the seniors we had on that team. We wanted that game. But the game was good. They had great athletes on their side of the ball. Isaiah Long, running back. They had Tyson Williams that's at the bottom now. Like they had a pretty good offense, And we Bubba, the quarterback that's at Southern now. They had all good offense, but I think our defense that night we just wanted a little bit more. Our whole team did, especially our offense. We had so much offensive firepower that year on the offensive side of the ball with Caleb Whitlow at quarterback and just so many receiver weapons. That's what made the practice of my senior year just outstanding because of the receiver competition.
Oh, I was going to say, some of those games, Tyler, I bet were easier than some of those practices because you guys had so much athletic talent going at it each of those practices. I bet those practices were tough.
Oh, yeah. They were very competitive, fun practices, but competitive because we all had one goal, especially my senior year. I think at that time, Northview hadn't been to the playoffs since like the 90s, I want to believe. And then like the year after I graduated, they went to the playoffs for the first time, which were the juniors behind us. So, it was very competitive.
Well, let's go back to that Dothan High game. The clock is ticking down, and you guys win the game. Can you take us back to that time period? Because every person who's ever played for Northview and had the opportunity and beat Dothan High, they remember that. Whether it was a blowout or a double overtime win or whatever it was, you remember that because it means so much because you just beat the rivals. Those guys may be your friends some of the time of the year, but they were not that night. So if you can, what do you remember, if anything, that game, that specific game?
That game, so I remember they were trying to run the ball a lot, and we had stopped that. And then I remember they trying to pass it, but like I said, our secondary, we had that locked down. And then I remember the clock hit 0, and I was very excited. I remember running to their student section. I run into the student section and just talking trash and just happy and I think our whole student section, Northview student section, had stormed the field. We had like a big group picture. It was a fun night. I remember it. It was very exciting.
Gosh, I'd love to see that group. A copy of it, bud. Post it in our Facebook group here because I bet that's a keeper right there.
Yeah, I believe I have it on my phone still or Facebook or somewhere. I'll find it.
Oh, please do. And if there are other ball players in there you can tag, that'd be awesome because that'll get some good conversation going. What was Coach Stewart like being the head coach for you during your years? I know Coach Dawkins was your position coach. Talk a little bit about Coach Stewart, who, by the way, is the current 2A Coach of the Year, having such an outstanding year, and unfortunately lost in the state finals this year. But boy, he had such a great year. But what was it like playing for him back in the day?
It was great playing with Coach Stewart because when he came to Northview, I believe he had just left Prattville, which at the time was one of the most winning programs. So he brought that winning attitude towards us that a lot of us didn't have at the time. He showed us what to do, what to do. On the recruiting side, he introduced us to a lot of recruits that came and were interested in us. He brought in coaches that understood us as players, that showed us, different things. He was a great coach. I can't say anything bad about him. He was a great leader. He showed us, you always got a life. One of his favorite things is like you got a dog, you get dirty, you got to pat, shake it off and pat. I'll never forget him giving us that speech. That was a great speech. And yeah, he was always a competitor and made sure that we were ready and focused to play.
Now you've been out of school now, and I've been out of school way many years than you. But the thing that we have in common is we have high school coaches and college coaches who made impacts on us. We didn't always like our coaches. We may have had some disagreements with our coaches. I know I did from time to time, but they remain in your memory. They're impactful. And just like you said, that story and that quote from Coach Stewart, you remember after all these years. What was it about Coach Dawkins that you still take away, that maybe you learned some life lessons, or you took some lessons that he shared with you on to college and now even off the field? So tell us a little bit about Coach Dawkins.
Coach Dawkins, he was, he was a different level of trying to make sure that we were all on one cadence as a defense. Understanding each position, understanding that if he makes a mistake, you got to be there, keeping things simplified, not overcomplicating things. He was a great defensive coordinator and position coach for me, and he made sure that our defense was just always, on one cadence, and but Coach Dawkins, one of the things I love about Coach Dawkins is he's gonna let you make mistakes. And once you make that mistake, he's gonna let you self-correct it, then he's gonna correct it for you, give you a chance to, sometimes you gotta fail to understand why, what you need to do next. And that was one of the things I took away from Coach Dawkins.
Well, very good. Well, Juan Davis gives you a shout out. Did you guys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's another great DB I played with. Mm-hmm. Close friend to this day.
Very good. Well, are you still in contact with a bunch of the Northview guys or schoolmates who were there, whether the girls or boys, or have you kind of guys all, as you do after high school, you just kind of spread to the wind, and it's tough to stay in touch? Or are you still in touch with some of them?
Some of them, yeah. A lot of us, got different things going on in life, but for the most part, we still, when we see each other or come across each other on social media, it's all love. We make sure that, we try to stay in contact as best we can, as we get older and life go on, certain stuff happens.
We've all got those 2 or 3 or 4 close friends that no matter how much time has gone by, you guys see each other and it could be just a look or one comment, and it immediately takes you back to a time and place from high school and gives you a big grin, or you guys just start ripping on each other. Have you got that group of friends?
Of course I do. Now, Stefan's one of them, Stefan Davis. I just seen him a couple of weeks ago when we were just talking about our Northview days. Jeffrey Greer, which played receiver and baseball with me. Keedron Wilson. We all keep in contact with each other when we can,
All right.
And, all positive.
Until I get Stefan on here, this is your time to give us something about him that he may not necessarily want everybody to know. So share a story. Did you have to make up some ground when he slipped or got beat by a receiver in the game or something like that?
No, but I will tell you a crazy story about Stefan, though. I'll never forget. It was our junior year, and we were playing Dothan High. And one of our safeties, I was playing at the time, one of our safeties had got hurt. Stefan came in. His first play of the game, and him at safety, he comes in and straight demolishes Tyson Williams. And if you know Stefan, he's not that big, not that tall, but he plays with a lot of heart. And we knew that he was something serious there at that moment. And to this day, he's coaching, I believe, and Perfect Craft. If you ever heard of Perfect Craft, he's one of the head coaches with that. So yeah, he keeps that fire. And I believe he's with Abbeville Coach Stewart now as a defensive coordinator.
Well, speaking of Coach Stewart, hey Coach, thanks for dropping in for just a minute. He said, Tyler, he says you were a dog on defense. And I'm sure he means that the utmost compliment. So thank you, Coach, for stopping in for just a minute. Tyler, let's talk about baseball a little bit. Which sport did you like better, or was it just it depended on which time of the year that was the sport you liked better?
Uh, I have to go football. Football has always been my sport from day one. Baseball is just something I always grew up playing, so I always had love for it. But football was always what I always had my true intention of my heart in, especially getting to the next level, focus on.
Well, what positions did you play in baseball? Who were your coaches?
Baseball, I played pretty much every position in the outfield, left field, center field, and right field. At Northview, my coaches were Coach Steve Garrett, which son is Bryce Garrett, the pitcher for the Marlins now. I had Coach Hall, which came in after him, and Coach Raspberry. They were all my three. I think I had a different coach about every year, I think, in baseball during that time.
Now, were there other football players who also played?
Yeah, one of my best friend, Turner Benson, he played running back and baseball. Who played football and baseball? Stefan, he played baseball and football. Andy Bernard, which is linebacker in baseball. Jeffrey Greer, he played shortstop, but he was a 4-year starter at shortstop at Northview, and played receiver. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some more, but that's pretty much all I can think of right now. Oh, and Michael Reynolds also, he played.
You guys had an athletic baseball team.
Oh yeah. I think my junior year, the senior class ahead of me, I think at least about 10 or 11 of them signed baseball scholarships. So yeah, we went to the third round.
Very good. Well, that's awesome. How competitive were those Dothan High baseball games? Were they like the football games as well?
Not even close. I think we had a number in baseball. Baseball was more of our thing, and baseball, I think they kind of knew that too, that we had the number in baseball.
Very good. Very good. What gave you, whether it's baseball or football, what gave you the most joy about competing in athletics in high school? What was it about? Was it the teammates, the camaraderie? Was it the competition during the games? Was it the bus rides? What was it?
In high school, it was just my teammates and the competition, especially the teammates. Because a lot of my teammates, I grew up playing Little League, middle school, so we grew up together. I know their parents, they know mine, family, and then just the competition, especially from I think my sophomore and junior year, we were in the Mobile region, so we played against a lot of good competition.
Oh yeah.
Then we went to the Mobile region my senior year and played against a lot of good 4 or 5-star athletes. So it was good. It was very competitive playing 6A ball.
Well, who were some of the more notable players who you recall playing against in high school, whether it was baseball or football?
In baseball, I can't really name them, but I know we played in the baseball played in the Birmingham region, so we played against a lot of baseball players that signed scholarships to bigger schools. But in football, I remember we played against Matt Wilson in Alabama. He played for Carver Montgomery. Marlon Benson played for Carver Montgomery defense for Auburn. Jalen Thompson, I think that's his name, that plays a corner at South Alabama now, or did. He played for St. Paul. I can't think of it. It was a middle linebacker for St. Paul that was a 5-star at the time. I can't remember his name. Mm-hmm. It was Trey. That went Auburn. We played against Prattville. What was the running back at Prattville at the time? The big guy from Auburn. I can't think of his name. But we played against a lot of. We played against in my high school. At my high school days. We played against a lot of good Division I 4 or 5-star guys.
It sure sounds like. And any of you guys out in the audience, if you remember these guys' names, throw it in the comments. Of course, I'm talking with Tyler Brown. Tyler's up in the Huntsville area. He played for Coach Stewart and Coach Dawkins, and we're getting close toward the end, Tyler. But I want you to kind of share with us a little bit of your pregame routine, if you had one. Let's start, Fridays. I don't know if you guys did pep rallies on Thursdays or Fridays. Let's talk about home games. Were you a music in the ears guy? Were you a real quiet guy? Or were you one of these talk all the time? Take us through your pregame routine leading up to kickoff.
Starting with the pep rally, I was never a big pep rally guy. I'd rather be in the locker room with my headphones on, focus on the game, think about the game plan. Was never really into that much, type stuff in high school. But, my pregame has always just been listening to music. Back then, I was a big, listening to some Lil Wayne, a little different rap music, and just getting my zone, get taped up, make sure my pad, just to, keep everything. They don't want to do too much, stay hydrated, they don't do too much. Coach Stewart, he kind of made sure that we was always focused on the game, making sure that we didn't get distracted by, our peers and the outside, what was going on, make sure that we were ready to win that night.
Well, I know everybody has their own way. They get dressed a certain way, or they have to sit next to certain guys, or it's everybody's athletes are kind of superstitious, most of them. Your bus ride from the school to the stadium, I got to be in the third row sitting next to my buddy, those kind of things. And I always like to hear those stories and those traditions. Now, take us under the stadium.
I can say one.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
That's okay. I think we've got just a slow internet connection. If you can hear me, I want you to take us to pregame talk by Coach Stewart in the clubhouse or in the locker room under the stadium, or maybe out in next to the clubhouse before you guys hit the field.
Yeah, that was always exciting, especially how Rip used to set up with the locker room right underneath the stands. You hear all the fans cheering, and being right there, people can hang over the edge and talk. A lot of people cheering you, some people talking crap. It's always that whole area right there is always brings back some memories. I love being in that area though, because you were on the field basically, so you could see the other team warming up and everything. But people, it was a great experience, being in that area of refuse.
Well, it was. I got news for you. For decades, Tyler, many ball players had that same kind of adrenaline build. You can see a little bit of what's going on the field. You're interacting a little bit with the stands. And it's just before you're about to run onto that field that you got that pregame rush. So I know that you guys went through it. We went through it as well. Let's talk just a little bit about the transition from high school sports and football, most notably, to now going up to college, playing up in Huntsville at Alabama A&M. How did how did Coach Dawkins, how did Coach Stewart prepare you for going from being a big fish in a little pond, so to speak, to now everybody's, a big fish in a big pond? But how was that? What was that like?
It was different when I first got up here. They prepared us a lot though, especially playing in the 6A level in Alabama. We played against a lot, a lot of great competition. So when I got to college, I wasn't too out of it, but it's still it's a learning curve, transition. But it was a little different. They prepared us great for it, especially making sure our game day rituals were pretty similar to how it was in college. Practices, how we conducted our weekly practices was pretty much about the same in college. 2 days, walkthroughs, all that was pretty much all the same. I think they did a great job over there of preparing us for the next level. Early morning practices, all of that.
I've always heard from defensive backs and linebackers, when you get to the college level, the game is so much quicker because the skill position players, they're all fast. And you've got to make that transition and recognition at just after the snap, run versus pass, so much quicker. Did you have a moment, maybe during your freshman year? It could have been the first week, could have been the last game. Did you have a moment that you remember it kind of clicked with you? Hey, I'm starting to get a little hang of this. I get it. It's a faster game, but I'm gonna be able to do what I need to do. Do you remember having that kind of a moment?
Yeah, I think it probably happened my first game as a freshman. We played Cincinnati, our first game of the season, and we were getting beat. But as a freshman, my coach put me in as safety, and I just remember like the first play, I came down and I was like, wow, like the running back got the ball and he was moving so fast and just making cuts, and I was like, hey, I'm on the next level. Like these guys are flying. Yeah, of course at practice we have our athletes and stuff too, but playing in school like a big division school like Cincinnati at the time, it was different going against that caliber of athletes and the speed of the game.
Kind of woke you up, didn't it?
Yeah, it definitely did.
And what about playing, in Northview, you've got decent sized crowds. It could be a couple of thousand, it could be 10,000, depending on the competition, who you're playing. But what about playing in front of those big college crowds? Did that ever have an impact on you, or did you just kind of, you're just focused on your game and didn't really pay attention to the crowd?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, when I'm on the field, everything is, tunnel vision. I don't even notice the crowd at all until the end of the game.
Yeah.
But I was playing my first game, playing in the Magic City Classic in Birmingham. That was probably my first full house pack game. And that can be distracting. There's so much different things going on, celebrity on the sideline, fans. That was probably one of my biggest eye-opening games. The most fans there.
I've been to the Magic City Classic. I only live 5-6 miles from the stadium, and there's no crowd like it. It is such a fun atmosphere. I don't know how it is for you guys on the field for that game, but if you're in the stands and you're not having fun, then you're just not paying attention. You must be reading a book or something. Well, before I get you out of here,
that was all.
Say again.
Oh no, you got it.
No, I was going to say, before I get you out of here, I need a couple of more things from you. Who are some of your more memorable teachers or classes that you took? We'll start with that.
Okay. At Northview, my most memorable classes would probably be Miss Barnes, which was my history teacher. Me and her was very close then. Her two daughters. Miss can't think. The names are slipping me right now, but can't think of someone right now. But she was maybe my favorite teacher at Northview at the time. And I had one English teacher. I can't think of her name right now. But she took me to some football camps when I was in high school. She was very, very engaged in sports and athletics.
Very good. Last question I've got for you before we get out of here. What was it about being at Northview? What was it about being a Northview Cougar that meant something, that was special to you? We all feel that Cougar pride at some point or another, whether while you're in school, or maybe as the years go on, you become more and more fond of your. But for you, what was it that resonates, that gives you that pride, that smile, proud to be a Northview Cougar?
I think for me is mainly has to do with my family history of being former players at Northview. So, just keeping that tradition alive. Also, just the camaraderie, the fans, even though, we didn't have the most successful seasons, a lot of times we still had that great backing and fan support. It was just like a close-knit family, It's one of some of my fondest memories of the Northview,
That's some of the best. Give me some names of your former family members who played at Northview.
Mainly it was Joe Coachman at the time, my cousin. We also had, I believe we had another cousin that played there that was on my mom's side back a few years ago, before a time. I'm not really that close with them, so I don't remember the name on that side of the family. Yeah. But yeah, our family tradition there is, trying to keep it going. I got a little brother that's actually there now that runs track.
What year is he?
He is a senior, and he actually just got accepted to come up here to Alabama A&M. So he'll be up here in the summertime.
Oh, how great. What's his name?
Joseph Delay.
Well, very good. We'll be on the lookout for him. And that's awesome. You're going to be in the same city. I know you're happy about that.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting.
Very good. Well, Tyler, thank you for spending some time with me tonight and sharing a little bit of your journey and about some of your friends and days at Northview. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much for taking time out of the day.
Very good. Well, guys, as we do every Wednesday night, we have conversations with Cougars. Tyler Brown played back at Coach Dawkins, Coach Stewart's time, and also went on to Alabama A&M, and now gets to play Star Wars for a living. Can't beat that. But remain safe. We'll catch you again next Wednesday night for another Conversations with Cougars. Y'all be well.